much, Georgi. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yeah, everything is fine.
Good. Okay, so yeah, let's start actually. We've already seen you a little bit more to the south of Germany, almost in Austria, next country. That's a short overview of how the Master of Health and Sustainable Buildings work. It's a very comprehensive program. It's really working with many different areas in order to get the big picture and then go into the details. Now, because this is something from on practice experience, which is missing pretty much very often. We have a lot of specialists, but not so many people who really got the big picture and then can still go into the details. So we start with planning of sustainable buildings and neighborhoods, which by itself, it's already quite challenging, as you might know. This includes also the use and operation of buildings. We are working with evidence-based and simulation-based design. Evidence-based, I will explain to you what this means. It's not so well known in the context of architecture. This comes from the medical area. And obviously also innovation management and smart infrastructure. So this is just a very short overview. We'll see some more details yet. So why it is so important? Just to give you some information about this importance of construction sector worldwide. This is now here quoting the Washington Post from 6 years ago. China consumed in 3 years more cement than the United States of America in the entire 20th century. So we have a huge boom of construction worldwide. Now this is China. In parallel, it's also happening now in India, which has almost the same population. So it's the second biggest population of the world. Already calculating whether it will overtake the Chinese. And this is also happening. There's a lot of construction going on. You have Africa, which is growing a lot. Yeah. So, and in many areas, we are really missing building materials. Sand. Go to Senegal, you will have we have problems to get sand. In India, in many states, it's prohibited to use the sand from the rivers, for example, because it's depleting the rivers and the beaches, basically. Yeah. So, and this goes around. You know, we have similar problems here in Germany. So this is why we work in Germany on solutions. So we have this generally the big impact of the construction sector on our economies and our materials. Also, impact of modern civilization. Also, a typical situation we face worldwide. Most of the construction or the waste basically comes from the construction sector, as a matter of fact, which might be surprising for you, but we have a lot of waste coming during the construction process, but later on also, and this is also causing really huge problems around the world. Another problem is urban heat islands. A big issue in many warmer climates. When you are from a tropical, subtropical country, you might have experienced this very much, but you are in the center of a city, it's much hotter than on the outside or in the botanical garden, for example. Now, I measure myself temperature differences of 7 to 10 degrees centigrade in Rio de Janeiro, for example, in the center of the city and in the botanical garden. So how can we solve this problem? This is one of the problems now we are facing. Another one is the still ongoing growth of our population. This means that we will need more and more infrastructure, more and more buildings in the future, and we have to make sure that these new buildings will be sustainable. So, because it's already a problem. Imagine now we are getting close to 10 billion of inhabitants worldwide. Now it's 7.5 around. So this is on one side a huge market. In many countries around the world right now, we have a building construction boom also in Germany. People are desperate to find qualified engineers and architects. But this is also happening in many other countries around the world. Few people talk about it. People think this is majorly a problem of Japan and Europe, maybe, the aging population. What we see here is a projection of the proportion of population age 60 or over So you see when you have a very young population, like today in almost all parts of Africa, in parts of Arab Peninsula, in India, Iran, etc. Indonesia also, very young population, but this will change. And this also will create a lot of challenges concerning infrastructure. This is something which we are already experiencing quite sincerely here in Europe, in Germany, Japan, but this will also be a major issue in many other countries around the world by 2050. So this means this is something we have to start tackling now. We can't start with this in 2050, we have to start now. So why ICRI, European Campus Rotterdam Inn? All our courses, master and bachelor courses, are in English. We are the only campus around in Germany where all programs are in English. Our course HSP already exists for 4 semesters now. We have around 100 students. We always start with a summer semester. So application starts now in November, mid of November, goes until mid of February. And then once accepted, the semester starts next March, mid of March. So you can see here, ICRI is pretty much in the center of Europe, not just Germany, but Europe. It's always a matter of perspective, as a matter of fact. What is quite interesting, it's a very rural, it's a small city actually. We are a small campus of a much bigger university, which is located in Deggendorf. Advantage is that we have a very strong construction industry here. We call it in construction industry triangle. We have one company in Arnsdorf, company Lindner, with more than 5,000 employees in a village basically, but they work internationally. So work in the Gulf countries, all around Europe. Similar in Falkenberg, it's a timber frame construction company, also very famous, working all around Europe, and a very special company with probably producing the best bricks you can get around the world. I'm not exaggerating, in Thailand, also another small village actually, but great products, and their own research institute also, in order to improve bricks, highly insulating bricks, not what you mostly know from around the world. These are really very, very specialized materials. This is one triangle we have. We have another triangle, which is called the SPA triangle. This is why we also have at our faculty bachelor and master courses in tourism. So this is also a very strong sector, and we are working together. So we have projects in common, and we exchange our lectures also. So one of our projects generally is a hospital or sustainable tourism infrastructure. So what is the structure of our program? It's 3 semesters of lectures and 1 semester for the master thesis. The first semester, environmental psychology, so to understand how psychology works when it comes to sustainability, to the environment, how we perceive environment. Second module is sustainable buildings and neighborhoods. So we're basically working with building biology, different kinds of materials. We have a huge amount of different materials here. And when you're all coming from outside of Germany, what most of you will be the case, you will be surprised of how many building materials exist. Now, I work in many different countries, and it's difficult to find so many different building materials in one country. So it's a very competitive environment here for the construction industry, for the building material industry. So there's a lot of invention going on, and really great products. Smart buildings is basically building physics. It's climatology, so analyzing the climate. So the focus is very much on international projects, German project, but also international projects. So we have a lot of students from India, for example, from South America, from Middle East. And then our students can choose, okay, I want to do a project in my home country. Let it be Mexico, let it be India, let it be Jordan, or Egypt, or Morocco. It doesn't matter. Actually, Nigeria, we have projects in Nigeria, in Tanzania, in Bolivia, in Paraguay, Ecuador. So, and then we analyze the climate and we together develop solutions, system solution for buildings in these regions. Also, part of smart building is smart building technology. Advanced quantitative and qualitative research methods. So this is now the very scientific part, actually, which does not come naturally to architects, not so much to civil engineers either. So, but when you do a master, you need really a scientific approach, and this is exactly what you learn in this module. Second semester is environmental hygiene and medicine. This is, we started discussing air quality much before Corona started, actually. So we implemented CO2 sensors before Corona started to pop up in China. So, and now we are very well prepared to tackle this issue, actually. And one of our lecturer in this area is also head of a department of the Fraunhofer Institute, which is a very famous research institute here in Germany. So top, actually. Evidence-based design, normally the first project to be developed, a sustainable school. As I said, it depends very much on the students where they want to plan the school for. Might be a tropical climate, can be a cold climate. We have projects in Sweden also, it doesn't matter. You will learn how to do this. Standards in green building certification systems. Some of you might have heard about LEED, Leadership in Energy Environmental Design. That's the American green building certification system. This is what we use as a basis, but we also work with the German system. And you learn on a project, on your specific school project, how to apply it step by step. Building performance simulations, very, very interesting. So checking out how to improve your building, make it more energy efficient, create better indoor climate, including life cycle analysis, so we can see also the embodied energy, and we can change the kind of materials so we get the most sustainable building as possible designed. Refurbishment and renovation now, also a big issue actually, as in many countries, most of the constructions are already in place. In Germany, for example, 1% of the buildings are new each year. That means 99% do already exist. So this is a major issue. Refurbishment, renovation, how to do it as sustainable as possible, how to replan all infrastructure. You don't use the building, it might be industrial building, you don't use it anymore for the industry. Industry moved out of the city, and then you create a new concept for it. Might be a shopping center. I'm just now remembering project in M.Eng, Amazon River in Brazil. Very nice project where they transformed industrial infrastructure into a shopping center and including restaurants, etc. Very nice. And this is also a very, very strong tendency around the world. Project management and implementation, also very important to understand how do we manage a project, how does this work, how do we implement it, and how we do this on an international basis. Our approach is a very international approach. Here our lecturer, Professor Michelle, she is German-American. So she is also, as many of our lecturers are non-German lecturers. So we are pretty mixed here, as are our students. So the third semester then is the sustainable energy supply systems. All kinds of energy supply systems, districtal heating, cooling, solar energy, wind energy, ground heat sources, etc. This is all part of the package. Ambient assisted living and working. This now addresses very much the tendency we have of aging populations around the world. So major issue also. Building safety, security obviously is a very important part of workplace safety and security now. Different security layers in order to avoid intrusions, etc. etc. Evidence-based design 2 then. In the last semester had 2 different projects where the students could select from, one in the healthcare infrastructure, sustainable healthcare infrastructure. The second one is in sustainable tourism infrastructure, again around the world. Nice projects in Sri Lanka, in Indonesia, in Bali. So really great also for us professors actually. And smart infrastructure, artificial intelligence. Now this is a bigger picture. How can we work with these new technologies in the context of buildings and neighborhoods? And finally, with the focus on innovation management. So these are now the lecture semesters, and then we have a fourth semester with a master thesis, which normally is being used to integrate all this knowledge into one big project actually. So this is our HSP lab, or part of it. This is what we call living lab. We're already working with CO2 sensors, as I mentioned before. Now for the fourth semester, unfortunately without students, we can't measure anything due to Corona. We are basically in a lockdown, but our many lecture rooms are prepared with this. We also have now our Heliodon. Our HSP lab will be integrated at the start of the next semester. It's already all stuff in place. So the next students will be very lucky actually there, and our already existing students are very full of envy actually, because they see now what great new infrastructure will bring. These are different building materials, just to give you an idea. This timber materials, wood materials. These are daylighting systems. You integrate in your skylight or in your facade. These are different clay products, modern, how can you work with earth products? These are these highly insulating bricks, low volatile organic compounds, paints, etc., green roofs, etc. All these technologies, you will see how this works. This is now the programs we work with in our IT lab. Basically, when it comes to building performance simulation, it's a design builder. This is being used by consultants internationally. It's a very, very good program, very complete program, actually. Great interface with great engines. I'm using it for more than 10 years now in consulting projects around the world. Very interesting, actually. One-click life cycle assessment. This is, as it says, it's about life cycle assessment. ODIAN for room acoustics. WUFI for hydrothermal simulation style, Dialogs for artificial lighting, Meteonorm and Autodesk Revit as a BIM program. So that's a very comprehensive, basically, introduction programs, which are top edge, I would say. So excursions, also generally a part of our program. Unfortunately, due to Corona, we only had excursions the first semester. This was at the end of 2019. Now we visited a high porosity brick company. I already showed you the examples. Timber frame constructions, also smart infrastructure buildings, building biology projects, recycling companies, visiting also Munich, which is close by. More than an hour's drive from here, with one of the most exciting collections of architecture, historic architecture, modern architecture all over Germany. So very close by. What are the job perspectives? I can give you some examples. This is where I worked for the last 20 years before I came back to Germany. So basically around the world. Was based for many years in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and lately also 1.5 years in Brasilia. But in between, also in Peru, on Mauritius, in Mozambique, and with corporations basically around the world. And this is exactly what we are training our students for, to work internationally. Examples here, that's for Embassy of Germany in Rio de Janeiro, was supposed to become a part of the German school. This is Tunisia, also this sustainable design. This is a school building in Rio de Janeiro, and residents in Rio de Janeiro. And this is, when you are lucky and get a job in Rio de Janeiro, this is what was a view from my office for many years, beach of Copacabana. And these are this type of projects we teach our students to develop. Zero energy buildings, zero energy school in this case, or consulate to school, another project. This was a research project financed by the German Academic Exchange Service here at the Americana Stadium. And here we had our research facility location with these green roofs here. It was also a very exciting project. And this is something we're gonna restart soon also. Yeah, okay, I think that's it for the moment. There's so much more actually. Yeah, let's maybe start. This was in Peru project, or here on Mauritius, development of a green building rating system specifically for islands far off mainland. So the next mainland location with building materials was South Africa. So it's thousands of kilometers away. Okay, yeah, that's it from my part. And now I invite you to ask questions.